Three airport employees huddled near the lounge entrance, voices low, but not low enough. He's been sitting there for 20 minutes, just sitting, watching the door. Did you check if he has a membership? He looks like he's waiting for someone not to be paying attention. Should we call security? Just tell him it's members only. He'll leave. Demetrius Grant heard every word from his seat 15 feet away, listened to the assumption, the conclusion, and the plan. He'd been traveling for work since 6 a.m. Atlanta to Chicago to Denver, now waiting for the final leg to Seattle for a conference where he was the keynote speaker. His suit was custom tailored. His briefcase was leather. His boarding pass showed seat to A first class, purchased by the university that employed him as a tenured professor and department chair, but none of that mattered to the lounge attendant, now walking toward him with the particular expression service workers wear when they've decided you're a problem before you've done anything wrong. Excuse me? Sir, her name tag said Ashley. Her tone said, you don't belong here. This lounge is for premium members only. Do you have your membership card? Demetrius looked up from his laptop, the one displaying his presentation, systemic bias in professional spaces, recognition, response, and reform. He smiled, not warmly. Actually, I do. Dr. Demetrius Grant was 43 years old, a distinguished professor of sociology at Northwestern University, and he'd written 2 books about exactly this moment: Invisible Barriers, Race and Access in American Institutions, had won the American Sociological Association's Award for Public Sociology Gatekeeping. Who gets in? And why was required reading in 67 universities? He'd built his career studying how people were, denied access to spaces professional, educational, recreational based on assumptions about who belonged, how gatekeepers made split-second decisions about worthiness, how bias masqueraded as policy enforcement. He'd interviewed 340 people for his research, heard stories about being questioned in luxury stores, followed in museums, challenged at hotel check-ins, denied entry to restaurants despite reservations. The pattern was consistent: well-dressed, professionally successful people of color treated like interlopers in spaces. Their credentials and income explicitly entitled them to access. He'd presented this research at conferences, published in peer-reviewed journals, and consulted with corporations about unconscious bias. He'd become an expert on recognizing discrimination, documenting it, and explaining why just following policy was often code for enforcing who we think belongs here. What he hadn't done until 6 months ago was start documenting his own experiences. He'd kept his professional work separate from his personal navigation of the world, maintained scholarly distance, analyzed other people's discrimination while treating his own as background noise he'd learned to tune out. Then he'd been stopped by security at a museum where he was a board member, asked to prove he hadn't stolen the expensive watch he was wearing, a gift from his father, a retired postal worker who'd saved for 2 years to buy it. The security guard had been apologetic after seeing his board member's ID, but the assumption had been made. The humiliation had been public. The message had been clear: your credentials don't change what we see first. So Demetrius had started keeping records, dates, locations, interactions, evidence for the book he was planning when the expert becomes the subject. A scholar's field notes on living, his research. Today's interaction was about to become chapter 4. Demetrius reached into his briefcase slowly, deliberately, because sudden movements in airports got black men tackled, and pulled out his wallet. From it, he extracted a black card with gold lettering, Centurion Lounge, Lifetime Platinum member. He handed it to Ashley, watched her face as she scanned it, watched confusion replace certainty.
Oh, yes.
I need to verify this with my manager. She walked away, card in hand, without apologizing or explaining the delay. Demetrius returned to his laptop, opened a new document, typed Denver International Airport, Gate B47 Centurion Lounge, 3:42 p.m. Female attendant, name tag, Ashley. Questioned my right to access despite a visible premium boarding pass and business attire. Demanded membership verification. Pattern: 3 employees discussing my presence before confrontation. Assumption: I was waiting to slip in, rather than legitimately accessing space I'm entitled to use. Ashley returned with a manager white man, mid-50s, expression suggesting this was an inconvenience rather than a concern. His name tag said Robert Meadows, lounge director. Sir, we're having trouble verifying your membership in our system. What kind of trouble? The card number isn't coming up. We need to confirm you're actually a member before we can grant access. Demetrius kept his voice level, professional. That's a lifetime platinum membership issued in 2019. I've used it at 37 lounges across 4 continents. It's never failed to scan before. Well, it's not working now. Do you have any other proof of membership? The card is the proof. That's what membership cards do. They prove membership. Robert's expression hardened. Sir, I can't let you in without verification. If you'd like to purchase a day pass, I'm not purchasing a day pass when I have a lifetime membership. Scan the card again. I've scanned it twice. Then check your system. Because the problem isn't my card. Robert's jaw tightened. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the lounge entrance. You're creating a disturbance. Demetrius looked around the lounge entrance. He was sitting quietly, working on his laptop, speaking in a normal tone. The only disturbance was Robert's insistence that a valid membership card somehow wasn't valid. I'm not disturbing anyone. I'm waiting to access a lounge I'm entitled to use. You're the one creating a situation by refusing to honor a legitimate membership. Security can escort you. Call security, please. I'd love to explain to them why you're denying me access to a space I've paid for. Demetrius pulled out his phone. I'm also going to record this interaction for documentation purposes. I teach about institutional discrimination at Northwestern University, and this is textbook gatekeeping. The mention of Northwestern made Robert pause. You're a professor? Distinguished professor. Department chair of sociology. I research access barriers in professional spaces. This, he gestured at the situation, is exactly what I study. If you're a professor, why are you having trouble with your membership card? I'm not having trouble. You are. My card is legitimate. Your system is either malfunctioning or you're choosing not to honor it. Either way, that's not my problem to solve. Woman approached, black, professionally dressed, carrying the same platinum card Demetrius had. She handed it to Ashley without being asked. Ashley scanned it immediately. Welcome back, Ms. Harrison. Enjoy your visit. The woman walked past Demetrius into the lounge without incident. Demetrius looked at Robert. Her card worked. Same card, same scanner, same system. What's different? Robert's face flushed. I don't appreciate what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. I'm observing. Her card scanned successfully. Mine supposedly doesn't work. The cards are identical. The technology is the same. What variable changed? Before Robert could respond, another employee approached, a younger woman with a nervous expression. Mr. Meadows, I think I found the problem. Someone flagged this membership number in our system. Flagged how? There's a note that says suspicious activity. Verify identity before granting access. Who flagged it? Ashley did. About 20 minutes ago. The silence stretched for 5 seconds. Demetrius watched Robert's expression shift from defensive to horrified as he understood what had happened. Ashley had decided before even approaching Demetrius that his membership was suspicious, had preemptively flagged his account, had created a system error to justify denying him access. I need to see that flag, Robert said quietly. The employee pulled up a tablet and showed him the screen. Demetrius couldn't see the details, but he saw Robert's face go pale. Ashley, my office. Now. Robert turned to Demetrius. Dr. Grant, I apologize. There's been a serious error. Your membership is valid. You have full access to the lounge. We'll also be contacting your next 3 visits and providing a formal written apology. I don't want comped visits. I want to know why my membership was flagged as suspicious before anyone even spoke to me. Being addressed internally? No. I want to know now. I'm a researcher. I document discrimination patterns. This isn't theoretical for Maya's data. Why was my membership flagged? Robert looked at the employee with the tablet. Show him. The employee turned the screen toward Demetrius. The flag note read, member appeared to be loitering near the entrance. Did not approach the desk. Possible non-member attempting unauthorized access. Verify ID before admitting. I was sitting in the public seating area, Demetrius said quietly, working on my laptop. Waiting until I was ready to enter the lounge? That's not loitering. That's not suspicious activity. That's a man sitting in an airport. I understand, do you? Because from where I'm sitting, your employee saw a black man in the airport and decided he must be trying to scam his way into a premium lounge. She didn't consider that maybe I'm a paying member who's just working until my flight. She assumed criminal intent based on my presence. Robert opened his mouth, closed it. No defense was possible because Demetrius was absolutely correct. We'll be addressing this with Ashley. You'll be addressing it with your entire staff. Because this doesn't happen in isolation. This is a pattern, and I'm going to document it. Demetrius stood and picked up his briefcase. I'll be in the lounge for the next 90 minutes. After that, I'll be writing a formal complaint to your corporate office, the airport authority, and probably using this as a case study in my next book. Your choice whether you want to be the example of how to handle this correctly or how to make it worse. He walked past Robert into the lounge, found a quiet corner, opened his laptop, and started writing. Inside the lounge, Demetrius sat at a table overlooking the runway and felt the familiar cocktail of exhaustion and rage. He'd fought this battle 1,000 times in 1,000 variations. Department store security is following him. The restaurant host claimed his reservation didn't exist. Hotel clerks found reasons his credit card needed additional verification. He'd become an expert on discrimination by living it constantly. The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd built a career explaining to institutions why their gatekeeping practices were problematic. He'd shown them data, presented frameworks, and offered solutions. And then he'd walk into an airport lounge and experience exactly what he'd just lectured about. His phone buzzed. Text from his department dean. "How's the conference prep going?" He stared at the message. How did he answer that? "Going great, except I was profiled at the airport lounge and had to explain to management why flagging a black professor's membership as suspicious might be discriminatory." He typed back, "Good presentation is ready. The flight leaves in 90 minutes. His wife called. "Hey baby, you at the airport?" "Yeah, in the lounge. You sound tired." He told her what happened. The flagged membership. Ashley's assumption. The 3 employees are discussing whether to call security on him for the crime of sitting in a public airport while Black. His wife, Imani, was quiet for a moment. "Are you okay?" "I'm tired, Imani. I'm so tired of this. I teach about this. I write about this. I consult with companies about how to stop doing this. And I still can't sit in an airport without being treated like a threat." "I know, baby. What's the point of the research? The books? The lectures? If nothing actually changes?" "It changes for some people. The ones who read your work. The ones who learn to recognize their bias. That matters. It doesn't feel like enough. It's not. But it's something. And you're not going to stop fighting just because it's exhausting." He knew she was right. But he also knew that every confrontation took something from him. Every time he had to prove his right to exist in a space he'd paid to access. Every time he had to educate someone on why their assumptions were harmful. Every time he had to be the calm, reasonable voice explaining racism to people who were committing it. TIT cost him. The emotional labor of being both the subject and the scholar of his own oppression was infinite and invisible. His keynote speech tomorrow was titled "The Exhaustion of Proof." When credentials don't change perception. Just lived the entire lecture in 30 minutes. An hour later, as Demetrius was reviewing his presentation slides, Robert appeared at his table. "Dr. Grant, may I sit?" Demetrius gestured to the chair without looking up from his laptop. Robert sat. "Ashley has been terminated. Effective immediately. We reviewed security footage in her previous interactions. This isn't the first time she's flagged minority customers for verification. We found a pattern." Demetrius finally looked at him. "How many?" 11 incidents in 7 months. All involving customers of color. All flagged for suspicious behavior that amounted to nothing more than being present in the airport. And you're just discovering this now? We should have caught it earlier. We review complaints, but we weren't analyzing patterns in who gets flagged versus who doesn't. Your situation made us look deeper. So I had to be a professor with a public platform for you to take discrimination seriously." Robert's face tightened. That's exactly it. How many of those 11 people complained? How many were dismissed because they didn't have credentials impressive enough to matter? I don't know. Find out. Because I'm writing this up. And I want to know whether you're going to be the company that ignored discrimination until someone important experienced it, or the company that actually audited their practices and changed them. Robert pulled out a business card. "This is the contact for our corporate diversity office. They want to speak with you about consulting, about reviewing our training protocols and helping us identify systemic problems." Demetrius took the card, looked at it. "You want to pay me to fix the discrimination I just experienced? We want to learn from someone who understands both the research and the lived experience. You're uniquely qualified to help us change. I'll think about it. But understand something, I'm not interested in helping you avoid liability. I'm interested in making sure that next black traveler who sits in an airport working on their laptop doesn't get flagged as a security threat for existing in public space." Exactly what we need. The conference keynote the next day in Seattle had 800 attendees. Corporate diversity officers, HR professionals, and university administrators. People whose job was understanding and preventing institutional discrimination. Demetrius opened with the airport lounge story, showed them the timeline, the flagged membership. The 3 employees are discussing him. Ashley's assumption, the 11 other customers who'd experienced the same thing. "I study this," he told the audience. "I've written 2 books about gatekeeping and access barriers. I consult with corporations. I teach graduate seminars. And yesterday, I was profiled in an airport lounge for the crime of sitting quietly while black." He let that sit for a moment. "Here's what's interesting. When I told the lounge director I was a professor, his entire demeanor changed. Suddenly, I was credible. Suddenly, my complaint mattered. Suddenly, There was an urgency to investigate, and that's the problem. My credentials shouldn't determine whether discrimination against me is taken seriously. The discrimination was wrong when he thought I was just a traveler. It didn't become more wrong because I have a PhD. He pulled up a slide showing the 11 flagged customers. These people didn't have public platforms. They didn't have book deals or university appointments. Some of them probably just accepted being turned away because fighting felt too exhausting. And the system relied on that exhaustion. Relied on most people not having the energy or resources to push back. Another slide. So here's my question for all of you. How many Ashleys work in your organizations? How many employees are making discriminatory decisions that your systems don't catch because you're not looking for patterns? How many customers, students, patients, or clients have been turned away, flagged, questioned, or denied service because someone assumed who belongs? He walked to the edge of the stage. I was offered a consulting contract, good money, to help this company fix its discrimination problem, and I'm going to take it. Not because they deserve my labor, but because those 11 customers deserve a system that doesn't flag them as suspicious for existing. Because the next black traveler who sits in an airport shouldn't have to explain their credentials to access a space they've paid for. But here's what I told them, and what I'm telling you, I'm not interested in helping you check a diversity box. I'm not interested in trainings that make you feel like you've addressed the problem without actually changing anything. I'm interested in auditing your systems, finding the Ashleys, and removing the policies that enable them. I'm interested in making discrimination visible, documented, and impossible to ignore. The room was silent. It's the exhaustion of proof is killing us. We're tired of having to demonstrate our humanity, our credentials, our right to access public spaces. So if you're serious about change actually serious, not performatively serious, then get comfortable being uncomfortable. Get comfortable with the audit findings that will make you look bad. Get comfortable firing the Ashleys and examining why your system allowed them to discriminate 11 times before anyone noticed. He paused. And if you're not comfortable with that, then stop wasting my time and yours pretending you care about equity. The standing ovation started slowly, then built. 3 months later, Demetrius stood in the Denver airport lounge, the same lounge where Ashley had flagged his membership. But the space had changed. New management, new training protocols, and a new system. Every customer flag required supervisor review within 30 minutes. With demographic data tracked and audited quarterly for patterns, the current lounge director, a Tina woman named Catalina Simmons, had invited him personally. I want you to see what's changed, and I want your feedback on whether it's enough. Demetrius watched the lounge operations for 2 hours, observed how staff greeted customers, how they verified memberships, and how they handled questions. He saw a young black man approach the desk, saw the attendant smile, scan his card without hesitation, welcome him inside. It was ordinary, unremarkable, exactly how it should have been for him 3 months ago. It's better, he told Catalina. Not perfect, but measurably better. We terminated 3 more employees during the audit. All had similar patterns to Ashley. All had been flagging minority customers at rates significantly higher than white customers. And the 11 people Ashley turned away? We contacted all of them, apologized, offered membership extensions and travel credits. 7 of them accepted. 4 didn't respond, probably wanted nothing to do with us after that experience. Demetrius understood that completely. His consulting contract had expanded. 6 more airport lounge companies wanted audits. 2 hotel chains. A museum network. Everyone suddenly wanted the professor who'd written about discrimination to help them. Prove they weren't discriminatory. It was lucrative. It was exhausting. It was necessary. His next book was taking shape. The Scholar as Subject. Field Notes from Living the Research. Chapter 4 was titled The Lounge, When Gatekeepers Decide Who Belongs. He'd submitted it to his editor with a note. This chapter writes itself. I just document what happens when I exist in spaces my credentials should grant me automatic access to. The material is infinite. The exhaustion is too, his editor responded. That's why this book matters. Because you're showing what happens between the credentials and the access. The space where bias lives. Some discrimination happens with slurs and violence. Some things happen with polite questions and system flags. Both rely on the same assumption that some people need to prove their right to be somewhere, while others are assumed to belong. The only way to fight it is documentation, visibility, and refusing to accept just policy as justification for bias. Demetrius had built a career on that refusal, and he had no intention of stopping until the Ashleys of the world understood that their assumptions had consequences. Those credentials shouldn't be necessary to be treated with dignity, but until that world existed, he'd keep documenting, keep consulting, keep being both the scholar and the subject, because someone had to shine light on the space between credentials And access? Someone had to make the invisible barriers visible. And apparently, that someone was him.